Okay, thanks for joining. We're just going to give it a few more minutes and wait for a few more people to attend. Okay, we are just waiting for a few more people to join, and then we'll make a start. Okay, let's jump in and make a start. So, couple of quick bits of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, and the link will be shared with you at the end of the session. What we'll probably do is we'll break partway through, just so that you can have a quick refreshment break if you need to. And with that, let me just start sharing my screen for the presentation, and we will make a start. Okay, here we go. All right, no problem. So let's jump in and do some introductions. I'll kind of jump off. So my name is Stefan Tapp. I am the security lead for the APAC region for Sumo Logic. So essentially I cover everywhere from India across to Japan, and then from China down to New Zealand. Been with Sumo Logic for about 18 months, previously come from a couple of other vendors, and I've been involved in security operations for somewhere around about 20 years. With that, let me hand you over to, I'm going to hand you over to Tony, my colleague from AWS.
Thanks, Stefan. Hello, everyone. So I'm Tony Trin, Senior Partner Solution from Architect from AWS, and I support independent software vendor, or ISV for short. I work very closely with AWS partner like Sumo Logic in building, marketing, and co-selling our solution. And our aim is to work together to provide you, our customer, the best solution that the market have to offer. Really glad to be here today, and happy to talk about how you can leverage AWS services as well as Sumo Logic to achieve your goal. Back to you, Stefan.
Thanks, Tony. Sorry, I lost my mute button there for a second. Yeah, sorry. I'll pass over to you, Suresh.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Hi, everyone. I'm Suresh Govindachetty. I lead the solution engineering efforts for Sumo Logic in India. I'm based out of Bangalore, been in the industry for 20 plus years now. Happy meeting all of you here. I would be happy to take you through the Sumo Logic SIEM and then how we can actually partner together for a mutually successful journey. Back to you, Stefan.
Great, thanks, Suresh. Okay, let's step you through then and talk about a little bit about what we're going to cover on this session today. So we've done our welcomes. First thing we're going to do is to kind of go through an introduction of Cloud SIEM with AWS and Sumo Logic. We're going to kind of combine a bit of a demo with some hands-on time as well. So we will share some login credentials with you as part of this session that will get you into our core platform, our Cloud SIEM and also our Cloud SIEM Advanced. Those credentials you'll be able to use for the next month, to come in and have a little bit of a play around and help yourself. So we're going to cover that bit off. We'll start off looking at the Cloud SIEM itself. Then we'll take a very short break, and then we'll jump back in with Cloud SIEM Advanced, powered by AWS, and we will go through and do a hands-on lab there. Ignore the little bit about certification exam there. We're not going to make you sit an exam, but we will talk a little bit around training and where you can go to do further certification if you want to. And then we'll wrap it up with a quick Q&A, and I'll share an event survey link with you. So for the first part, I'm going to hand back to Tony just to have a chat with you with regards to the AWS side.
Awesome, thanks, Stefan. So I believe today most, if not all of you, are already AWS customer and user, and you probably already heard about how serious AWS tech security. Security is priority 0 for AWS, and so we provide our customer and partner with the best practices that we think would help you to protect your technology stack, help you to protect your application, help you to move fast but stay secure at the same time. And with that, one of the very popular recommendations that we provide to our customer is to use AWS organization and account structure. And the purpose is to firstly, segregate the concern, reduce the blast radius. I mean, if there's any security incident happen, then the impact is enclosed within that particular account. And you can also manage cost and account and organizational policy through the use of AWS organization. And at the very top, we have the organizational management account, which is used to create the org as well as create many member accounts. And you also have the security organizational unit, which comprise of normally a security tooling account as well as a log archive account. And I'll walk you through those two different kind of account a little later. And you also have the infrastructure OU, where you can set up all of your infrastructure and network and share services account. And last but not least, you can have the workload OU, where you host all of your web application, microservices, containerized microservices, or serverless API, or machine learning application. Cool. With that, let's dive a little deeper into the security tooling account in the next slide. Now we have, as in AWS have and offer many native services for you to choose to set up your security posture, and several popular services are Guard Duty, which can help you to determine any unauthorized access across your account. And Guard Duty, can create CloudWatch event, and this CloudWatch event can be fed into either AWS Lambda function or a third-party solution like Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM. And based on those event and notification, you can either build the auto remediation yourself, or leverage the full set feature from Cloud SIEM from Sumo Logic to remediate. So Guard duty help you to detect, and then tooling like Sumo Logic help you to respond, prevent, and then bring you back to the right security posture. And similarly, we have Security Hub, where it hosts all the centralized security event for your account across the AWS organization. For example, if someone accidentally make a public S3 bucket private, make a private S3 bucket public, or someone create a over permissive security hub or over permissive security group, then you see those security event bubble up in guard duty or security hub, and then you can craft your action and respond based on those. Apart from that, we obviously have AWS config for you to write different rules. For example, maybe a group of developers can only access certain services or certain database instances within your org, right? Or you can use AWS KMS or key management service to encrypt your key, rotate your key, and then prevent any malicious factor from accessing it. You can also use IAM Access Analyzer. I'm probably not going to go through the entire AWS services offering, because there are so many in there, and the focus is more on how to respond to those security events. But the gist of it is that you can centralize the entire security tooling landscape into one single account and manage everything from there. So instead of going through 15 or 20 accounts and then configure everything time after time, you can do it just once and then apply it across the org. Now, so we set with the security tooling account. Now let's have a look at the log archive account and see what it has to offer to us in the next slide. Next slide, please, Stephen.
2 seconds, Tony. It's not showing for some reason.
Oh, good. Thank you. And so with the uses of log archive account, or some people also prefer to call it data bunker account, you can centralize the entire log across different categories, like DNS log or access log, CloudTrail, CloudWatch log, and VPC flow log into one single central place. We usually recommend our customer to store them in different S3 bucket within one single account. And the purpose is that, say, for example, if your application account is compromised, you still have this golden set of log, and you'll be able to backtrack who accessed what and what action has been carried out that lead to that security incident. And this is also the place where you could point your auditor to go to whenever they want to do an audit on your security, in case you store any PII or PHI of your customer. So with this, you have an immutable and durable place to store all of your access log, and then get to them back later. And obviously, because they are an archive account, you can always optimize cost by leveraging services like S3 Glacier with really cheap storage costs. Okay, so those are the two types of account that you can leverage to improve your security posture, or just set up the entire security practices if you don't have them already. And they are part of AWS organization framework. Now let's move on to the next slide and see how can you leverage both AWS security best practices in tandem with solution like Sumo Logic, Cloud SIEM, to make sure that your organization is positioned in the best security gesture possible. So as I mentioned previously, if you use AWS organization, you can delegate different tasks to different accounts, and in this diagram, you can use the management account to delegate the security, the guard duty responsibility to a separate account, right? And then in this separate account, we are using the guard duty admin console. You can enable guard duty for current and all other member accounts. So remember what I said about the security tooling account. and this is it, where you can choose to enable guardability across the entire organization. And you can configure all of the member account, right, to stream all of the CloudWatch event, or now we call them Event Bridge, into this guardability account. And so you have a central place where you have all this security event bubble up, and then you can write custom rule to, you know, act on those custom event, because, you know, maybe if your developer access a member account, there's nothing unusual about that, and so you can safely skip those. But if there's something really suspicious happen, you can create rule to filter out those suspicious activity using CloudWatch event rule, and then you can have, you know, Lambda function to act on it, and it act on it by the fact that it's actually deliver this already filter event into Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM solution, and based on that, Cloud SIEM will help you to, you know, firstly alert, or, you know, act on it, or respond on this security, and then prevent it from happening in the future. And I'm sure Stephen will have Stephen and Suresh will have a lot of detail to fill you in on how that works on the Sumo Logic side. But with that, I'll just leave it here with you in terms of, you know, AWS security best practice. And obviously we can go on and talk about it for day after day. But, you know, the focus of the section today is on Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM. So I'm going to hand the control back to Stefan and Suresh so that they can walk you through the remaining content of today's section.
Right, thanks, Tony. Let's just come on to our next part then. So I guess when it comes to security in today's age, we have three kind of key areas that our customers are facing. The first one here is multi-cloud support. So traditionally, you know, some of the older legacy SIEM platforms were not really designed to be able to ingest and work with cloud source logs. Yeah, they were typically built for on-premise log sources, etc. So with some of those solutions, it's very hard when companies are moving or transitioning across to cloud to be able to monitor what's happening in that space, you know, as they move there fully, and also during that transition stage as well. And the other key thing as well is, you know, multi-cloud is also a challenge. You know, there's lots of customers that I work with, for example, who they have a cloud presence across, you know, AWS, AWS, Google, Azure, etc. So being able to get that visibility across all of those cloud sources and actually correlate security across all of those, and also on-prem as well, is increasingly difficult with some of the legacy tools that are there. The second main thing here really is that kind of shift in threat landscape. You know, gone are the days where we just focused on you know, a malware getting into the system, either by a user who's clicked on a web link or received it in an email, or they've plugged in an infected USB stick, etc. The threat landscape now does, you know, it encompasses that cloud as well. And Tony kind of mentioned that a little bit around, you know, sometimes not maliciously, but under a misconfiguration or something, I could suddenly be exposing a private S3 bucket publicly, and we read about that quite a lot of the time as well. So we have to think about that kind of cloud access, but also what's happening around cloud APIs. You know, where's my security monitoring for that? We may have shifted from traditional on-premise Active Directory as my infrastructure for user control, and that now may be running through something like Okta. So I need to be able to monitor those logs as well in this new landscape. And then finally there, the key challenge, which has always existed for as long as I can remember, alert fatigue has always been a challenge, but it's become increasingly more so, you know, as we're bringing more log sources in, as we transition across to the cloud. I might still have all of my legacy log sources, but now I'm bringing in additional logging from the cloud environment as well. So I'm actually adding to that alert fatigue problem. So Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM powered by AWS actually addresses all of these key points. We reduce the complexity with just the simplicity of adding in cloud sources and being able to get that visibility in that hybrid scenario. And a lot of companies, as they're completely transitioning across, we kind of complement that move with them. We give them that ongoing visibility as they transition to the cloud. We support all of the log sources from AWS as well, for example. Whether you're bringing in CloudTrail, GuardDuty, VPC, ELB, etc. You can have that complete centralized visibility as you move across. And it's also really easy as well to, to get Cloud SIEM powered by AWS up and running. It's something that can be, purchased and provisioned through the AWS marketplace. So it's nice and easy to kind of get that up and running. So we have two areas addressing slightly different requirements within Cloud SIEM. So if we start off with our core kind of Cloud SIEM solution, this allows me to very quickly add in all of my cloud log sources. We have a concept of an application store, an app store that allows me to add the AWS CloudTrail app, for example. I bring my log sources in, add the app, and then within a few minutes I have visibility and pretty comprehensive dashboards, that gives me that view of what's happening in that environment. It's also compliance ready as well. The Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM has multiple attestations from PCI, SOC 2 Type 2, etc. So you can be assured that all of your information that you're bringing into that platform is secure, both from the point you're collecting it in transit and also whilst it's in rest as well. It's secure and encrypted. We have another note there, compare Amazon GuardDuty findings. So this is a really cool feature that I like within the platform. It allows me to bring in GuardDuty alerts and then actually compare those to other organizations that use Sumo Logic for their monitoring. If I'm getting GuardDuty alerts firing, I can load up a particular dashboard and it gives me a global view. So I can compare what I'm seeing versus other companies. Am I in a worse position security-wise than another organization? Am I firing more of a certain alert type, etc.? So it's a really good way to benchmark your security against other customers and other organizations that are there as well. The TCO, the total cost of ownership, is incredibly low. It's a cloud-native SaaS solution, so there's no hosting cost involved. Everything is provisioned for you by Sumo Logic, and it's hosted on AWS. There's no concept of having to scale it for burst ingest rates. The solution is completely elastic and scalable. If I start logging, 5 times as many logs tomorrow as I was today, because maybe I'm getting a denial of service attack or something, the system will scale up automatically for me. Okay, so I don't need to worry about provisioning for the biggest load size I'm going to get. So there's no kind of oversizing and having to pay more just in case you need to use it. And then the last point there really is that integration. We integrate with multiple data sources across multi-cloud, SaaS and on-premise environments. So the next step up then is our Cloud SIEM Advanced. That's a kind of a next generation analytics and automation platform for SOC teams. It allows me to normalize and enrich all of my log sources coming in from any location. So I can take log sources from a firewall, from my email solution, from AWS CloudTrail, and I can normalize things like usernames, etc., so that they're consistent across all of the platforms. I can also enrich that information as I'm ingesting it as well. Some of the real key things as part of our solution is our entity-based correlation. That uses comprehensive out-of-the-box content. It's all curated by security engineers within Sumo Logic. And that allows me to track what an entity is doing, whether it's a user or an IP address or a host name, etc. I could track that across multiple signals and then cluster those together and create what we call an insight. So that's prioritizing those investigations for me and reducing that typical alert fatigue that we see generally. On top of that as well, there's some pretty extensive machine learning capabilities built into the platform. Being able to apply confidence scores to insights that are being generated. So the higher the score, the more confident I am that it's a real incident. And that's, again, information that's kind of crowdsourced across all of Sumo Logic customers. So we can then bring that back to each individual customer and give you a good idea of whether it's a real incident versus a false positive. So to give you a quick snapshot, some of the kind of typical use cases, I guess, for our Sumo Logic platform, everything from operational intelligence, being able to ingest operational logs, through to security intelligence, giving me visibility, who's logging in from where, am I communicating with any known bad IPs, and then comprehensive dashboards, firewall accesses, blocks, denies, user logins, etc. They're all kind of contained in that security intelligence for me. Then we have business intelligence. It's where a lot of customers are using our platform to, to monitor their customer-facing solutions. Maybe it's a retailer who's monitoring their web-facing system, so they can get alerted if there's problems with customers completing a checkout process. Identifying, maybe we rolled out some new code yesterday and that's broken my checkout process. So the ability to be able to monitor and remediate that really quickly is also vitally important. And then global intelligence, as we were just saying, being able to compare my guard duty alerts with other customers, being able to prioritize my security insights compared with other customers to give me that confidence scoring, etc. When it comes to ingesting data, we can literally grab data and bring it in from anywhere. So whether it's an application, microservices, Kubernetes, Docker, etc., you can bring all of those logs in. Cloud systems, SaaS services, mobile devices, and then traditional security tools as well, and even third party, bringing things in, leveraging APIs, etc. On top of that, we leverage various forms of analytics. Some of those we've discussed, the global intelligence, the confidence scoring, but I'm also able to leverage other analytics in the platform, being able to compare logs or a set of logs with another set. Maybe I want to compare logs from today with logs yesterday to see where the differences are. If I've got a service that's not running now, or I've got a malicious IP, and I want to see whether I was detecting that yesterday and where was I detecting it. And then other analytics such as log reduce. Instead of me having to sit and look at 100,000 logs, let me run some analytics across those so I can bring them down and say, hey, actually, these 50 logs are of the same type. These 20 logs are of the same type. And then I can just look at a subset of those, but know that I still have that same information contained in each one. A couple of other things there as well. We're a multi-tenant solution, which allows us to be able to, have that elasticity and be able to increase your ingest and compute automatically. As I mentioned just a second ago, if I'm now ingesting more logs than I was yesterday, I don't want to have a solution that falls over because I've reached my ingest limit. Sumo automatically scales up and down for you to cover that. When it comes to some of the people who use the platform, pretty much everybody, everyone from DevOps, engineering, IT operations, customer success, monitoring systems to make sure that, us as users are getting the best when we contact these customers, right the way through to product teams and security operations. And as you can see in that pop-up box there as well, we've got lots of attestations, a couple that I mentioned earlier on, PCI, we're FedRAMP accredited, HIPAA, SOC 2 Type 2, etc. When it comes to our security intelligence solutions, there's kind of three key areas there. First one is audit and compliance. So that's for, I need to log all of my logs centrally. I need to meet a compliance benchmark. Maybe I need to meet PCI. So I can log all of those, but I'm not too worried about security analytics or comprehensive dashboard capabilities. I just need to be able to bring my logs in, know that I'm collecting them, and be able to search against them if I need to. The next step up then is Cloud SIEM. So that allows me to do comprehensive searching. It gives me that dashboard capability and the apps that I can bring in from the App Store specific to my log sources, and then apply those advanced analytics on top. So as I mentioned, things like log reduce, log compare, but additionally as well, I can leverage threat intelligence at that level. So we include CrowdStrike Threat Intel as part of the platform at this level. So I can run my threat intelligence across all of my log sources that are coming in, not just the ones that are focused on security. And then finally, there, Cloud SIEM Advanced. That allows me to do, pretty comprehensive threat correlation across all of my log sources, whether they're in the cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid, etc. It introduces workflow and event management for me. So it's easy now for me to work on an insight, reassign it to various teams, close it out, etc. And the most important thing there, certainly from my perspective as somebody who spent plenty of times working as a security analyst, is being able to automate the incident phase, to go through thousands of alerts and bring it down to a manageable handful of alerts to investigate and prioritize, and reduce that all-important noise, reduce that alert fatigue that we typically see. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to start taking a look now at Cloud SIEM first of all. So Cloud SIEM allows me to do searching. It allows me to do deep searching, foundational correlation at that level, and alerting. It also allows me to do data enrichment and visualization. Okay, so I have all of my dashboards, my the ones I can install from the app, and create my own as well if I needed to. And then finally, advanced analytics, being able to troubleshoot, being able to detect and investigate. And again, not just from a security perspective, but maybe from an operational side as well. So as I've mentioned a couple of times, we have an app store and an app catalog. There's over 200 there out of the box ready to go. You simply install it, tell it where your data source is, and then within a couple of seconds, you have complete visibility over your log sources. So if I want to bring in my AWS CloudTrail logs, within a couple of minutes, I can actually get complete and comprehensive dashboarding around my AWS CloudTrail. I also mentioned a threat intel as well that we have built in. So this is actually supplied by CrowdStrike, and it's part of the product that we have. So that allows me to look across every log source I have coming into the platform, not just those security-centric ones. It's looking for indicators of compromise on my IPs, any URLs I have, any domains, file hashes, and email, etc. And with that, I am going to hand you over to Suresh, and Suresh is going to jump through and do a demo of the Cloud SIEM platform. Then we'll take that short break, and then I'm going to come back afterwards and take you through the Cloud SIEM Advanced.
Thank you, Stefan. So let me share my screen now and walk the team through the short demo of the Sumo Logic, the core platform. So once you log into the Sumo Logic core platform, this is the interface that you are going to see here. I am at the home tab. So as Stefan said earlier, we have an app catalog. So this is a collection of 200 plus applications. These are the applications which are built by Sumo Logic, supported by Sumo Logic, and these are completely free. And you can see various different categories of applications which are readily available. You can see the applications from AWS. So there are applications for CloudTrail, AWS Config, Couple of apps from the load balancer perspective. You can see AWS Firewall. You can see the CloudTrail, GuardDuty, AWS WAF. So you can see a rich set of applications for AWS. From compliance and security perspective, we have again 40 plus dedicated integrations using which you can straight away leverage the platform. Most of the common databases are covered here, and you can see security specific apps as part of the app catalog. So let me show you a quick example of how I can install one of these particular apps. I would like to take a closer look at my AWS CloudTrail. So all that is required for me is to go to this AWS CloudTrail application. So there is an overview about this application, which is mentioned over here. And to get more details about this app, all that you need to do is just click more, and that launches a context specific menu, which talks about how to collect the data for the CloudTrail application. And once you collect the data, how to install the application and then view the dashboards. We are going to do that very quickly here. So all I'm going to do is that I'm going to say click add library, and I just need to mention where my CloudTrail logs are. So star CloudTrail star, and then I can say add to library. The source category is nothing but an additional metadata tag that we assign while we collect the data. So this helps to identify what type of data is that we are sending to the Sumo Logic SaaS platform. So once I click add to library, this particular app gets added to my personal folder over here. And this taking slightly couple of more seconds to get it added. Now I can see that the AWS CloudTrail app is installed, and I can see all these dashboards available under the CloudTrail app. So let me open up a couple of apps over here. I can see AWS CloudTrail. There is a console login, network and security. You can see AWS CloudTrail operations and user monitoring. So let me look at the AWS CloudTrail overview. So this overview dashboard talks about the CloudTrail data that we have collected from AWS environment. So this is a geolocation of all users. This is a geo view, which basically shows where the users have actually come in and then logged into the platform. So this particular geo is built from the logs. We pick up the IP address from the logs. We do an external table lookup, and then we look at the latitude, longitude, and then we plot it with this geo view. This helps you to visualize the data in a far easier, understandable graphical way. You can see the created resources. You can see the deleted resources over time. And you can also see the failed logins for the last 24 hours. And you can see the created and deleted network and security events for the last 24 hours. So similar to that, you can look at the console logins. The console login GeoView shows where the administrators are logging in from. This is helpful if you have all your administrators only from, say, for example, India, then you should not see any other console login outside the India region. So this helps you to quickly identify if there are any admins who are logging in from non-admin locations, which warrants further investigation. You can see login events by user, logins over time, and you can also see logins from multiple IP addresses listed over here. Logins from outside the USA. Like this, we can customize these panels, like logins from outside the admin locations or India, etc. You can also see logins without multi-factor authentication, and you can also see a comparison of now versus 1 day before. So like this, you can do any comparisons of 1 hour before, 1 day before, 1 week before. You can do all those comparisons. You can also see the outlier functionality over here. Outlier is the unsupervised machine learning from Sumo Logic. And what outlier does is that it helps us to spot any anomalous events out of the event, out of the normal events. So the way we do this is we track the data point. And whenever we see there are deviations, like 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviation, 3 standard deviation, etc., the outlier can immediately alert us. And you can see the outlier showing up a data point here, which is pretty high compared to the previous data points that we see. And the fail login seems to be all good. There are no major fluctuations as such. Couple of fail logins, but nothing that shows an abnormality of the data. So let us look at further dashboards here. AWS CloudTrail network and security. You can see authorization failures, network and security events over time. You can also see the network ACL with all load ingress/egress. So this shows there is an ACL which is like too loosely configured. you can preferably look at locking down to certain number of ports over here, create and deleted network resources and security events. And you can see the short-lived critical operations over here and recent security group and network ACL changes. So the Sumo Logic apps, they try to cover 90 to 95% of common use cases. So you can see most of the common things that people would be looking in from administration security perspective, they're all covered in this particular dashboard. You can see the user monitoring panel again here, administrative activities over time, etc. So this is how you can simply install an application in Sumo Logic. And once you install the application, you can visualize all these dashboards. If there are any queries which are already part of it, you can see, you can launch those queries, alerts, etc. with your data on it. Having seen the guard duty, now let us jump in and then have a quicker look at the threat intel integration. So I'm looking at the threat intel app here. You can see the threat intel quick analysis application. I'm just going to open that. So as Stefan explained, we have an integration with a threat intel from CrowdStrike. This threat intel feed contains information about malicious IP addresses, URLs, domains, emails, #256 values, etc. So we can compare your data against this threat intel feed, and we can alert you in case we see any potential matches. So to launch this app, all that I need is I just say add to library, and I can mention all the sources by just putting in a star, and I can say click add to library. And this is going to add the threat intel quick analysis app into my personal folder. And once the threat intel app is added, I can actually see all these different dashboards as well as these queries which are available for me. So let me go ahead and then open up this overview dashboard here. So this shows the threat intel quick analysis overview. So the system is now looking into all the logs for the last 15 minutes of duration. So once this dashboards populate, then I can go ahead and then look at the specific details. So here I can see there are 1.02 million records which have been looked in the last 15 minutes of duration. And you can see the IP threat count, around 8.46K IP threats are seen in the environment. You can see the #256 values over here. And you can see the URL threat count, nothing seems to be there. There is an email threat count of 9 and a domain threat count of 73. And you can also see the classification of these threats like low, medium, high, unverified, etc. And also see the threats over time, which is shown as a line graph over here. So to get more details about the threats, I can open up, say, for example, my IP threat count. All that is required is I just click the summary panel, and this launches my threat intel quick analysis, the IP panel. So here I can see the threat count over here in the last 15 minutes. You can see the threat by geolocation. This helps you to identify where this particular threats are originating from. With the geo view, I can also drill down further. Say, for example, I want to look at where this 11 threats have originated from. I can zoom in into this geo view, and I can go up to a street level sort of a view. So this takes me up to a street level view to identify where certain threat is actually originating from. You can see the threat breakdown by sources. It shows all those different sources from where these threats have originated. You can also see the threats by malicious confidence like low, medium, high, and you can also see the various different threat actors which are listed over here. You can also see a detailed threat table that shows the IP addresses, the malicious confidence, who's the actor, from the source from where the system has identified this particular threat, and then a detailed information about this threat along with the count. And the threat over time by sources shows the line graph, which shows the distribution of threats over a period of time. So like this, I can take a detailed look at my #256. I can look at my emails. I can look at my domains, etc. The other thing that I would like to show you is our global intelligence. With global intelligence, we can actually compare your environment against a global cohort of similar customers to show you how your environment is stacked up against a global set of customers. So I'm going to show you the guard duty over here. So the first data that we see is about the global baseline, where the system is actually looking at what is it that we see on the 2000 plus customers that we have across the platform. So this is all completely anonymized data that you're seeing over here. So this is a global threat mix, which shows you the various different threats that we see in the environment, like the backdoors, the discovery, execution. You can see all those different threats listed over here. And the global threat share, these are all like the global numbers that we have as part of the global baseline. So now that we have the global baseline, we can help you to compare your environment against the global baseline. And that is this particular dashboard that we are going to see now. We also compute a threat score and a trend. You can see the threat score is right now showing up very high. And you can also see the threat score trend over here. You can see your company versus the global baseline. You can see the behavior, threat purpose, unauthorized access. How does your environment stack up against the global environment? You can also see the high severity, medium severity, low severity. You can see all those different severities over here. And finally, an action plan where you can see the threat purpose, what is the threat name that we have identified, and what is the resource where we have actually found it, what is the severity of it, compared to and the global percentage. And you can also see a link where you can click and you can take a suitable action as well. And finally, the global GA guard duty, the finding analysis. So here you can actually see your company's threat mix. You can see if there are any rare threats which are actually seen inside your environment. So you can see there is an unauthorized access, which is one of the rare threats. You can see a threat mix, which is related to behavior, unauthorized access, etc. The geo view again shows you the threat sources by the different geographies. It also shows the communications which are happening. It also shows the thread shares, etc. So this will help you to understand how your environment stacks up. You can also see the trends over here. The outlier is able to identify there is a sudden jump with respect to the number of threads which are actually detected inside your environment. The pink triangle that you see here is the outlier identifier, which basically says that the data point that we see here is an anomalous event compared to the previous data points over here. Okay, so let's get back to our training environment here. You can log into the training environment. So let me paste this on the Zoom chat. You can use the URL service.sumologic.com and you can choose one of these mail IDs, training plus analyst. And these 3 hashes, you can replace this with any number of your choice. You can put in the number in the chat window so others do not pick this up. I'm just pasting this into the Zoom chat so that everyone can log into this environment. You can paste, you can, instead of the 3 hashes, you can put in any number like 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5, etc. And you can logging into this demo environment to a couple of hands-on labs. Thank you, Stefan, for posting in the handout. So I have opened it here handy for us. So we are going to run a couple of queries here to see how these queries run, how we are able to detect security incidences, etc. So we are going to look at activity 1, which is monitoring users login from different IP addresses. So for the ease of use sake, I'm just copying and pasting it into the UI over here. So I'm already logged in. I'm using the number 235 to log into this particular training environment. Let me close all these tabs for clarity's sake. I'm going to open up a new search. You can click new and you can see a lot of options here. You can run a log search, you can do a metric search, you can look at your traces, you can go into entity viewer, etc. And I'm going to paste this query here. While I'm just copy pasting this, you can always do your queries. You can write your own queries in a structural way. Now the system is doing the search here. It is looking into the cloud train. It is looking into console login messages. where the console login is a success and it is counting it by the IP addresses. And it is doing this for the last 15 minutes. And you can see the source IP address and then the totals over here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to do geo lookup of all these IP addresses where they're actually logging in from. So for that, I'm just going to insert a couple of more queries over here. What I'm doing is I'm just going to do a lookup, external table lookup on the IP address to pick up the latitude and longitude. And now I can see the results over here. And I'm just going to use this small button, which helps me to visualize the data in the geo view. And here I can see the various different locations from which I can see all the IP addresses actually logging in. So like this, you can do your geo lookups and you can add them to a dashboard, and then you can create your own dashboards. And let's look at an activity 2 here, where we are going to look at threat intel lookup with sample indicators of compromise. So I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to open up a new search window here. I'm looking at one of these IP addresses, doing an external table lookup for the threat intel. There seems to be some issues in my copy paste. So let me go back here. Let me just copy this. Let me run this for a little longer duration. Just give me a second, please. I have someone at my door. Yeah, I'm back. So we're basically looking at an IP address over here, and let me copy paste this. You can see the results over here. So this shows the threat lookup, where we are looking at one of the IP addresses, and I'm able to look at my type, actor, raw, threat level from the threat intel integrations over here. And you can see the data access field. It shows that no now. So you can also do your arrangements. If you want, you can change the arrangement of the fields. You can remove some fields. You can knock off some fields, etc. So here you can see in the initial line, you can see my threat, data access, malicious, confidence, actor, etc. If I want, I can rearrange this data. I can remove some fields. I can modify the fields, etc. Here you can see my threat, data access, malicious, confidence, and then the actor. Here I am actually going to look at my threat, malicious, confidence, etc. This will basically reorganize and then show the data in the format in which I would like to visualize my data. Optionally, you can also change the IP address referenced here to any other IP address that you want. And if no data exists, then you can see no in the data access field over here. Say, for example, let me change this to any other IP address and allow the system to do a checking. And the system basically tells me there's no data which exists. So like this, you can write your queries, or you can pick up the queries from the existing applications, or you can modify these queries. You are free to explore this in the Sumo Logic interface. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover as part of the core platform. So this login is valid for the next 1 month. So feel free to log in and then you can explore the platform. You can do all your searches. You can create dashboards from your searches. You can create your alerts. You can do all your investigations, response, etc. So to go through the advanced module that we have, I would like to pass the call back to Stefan. Stefan, back to you.
Great, thanks, Suresh. Just bear with me 2 seconds while I get myself ready here. Okay, so there we go. All right, no problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through our Cloud SIEM Advanced. Let me just find the right slide. Sorry, my slides have gone out of sync. Okay. Okay. Bear with me 2 seconds. All right, no problem. I can see Ashu on the call there. So let's carry on. Let's give Ashu some personalized training. Okay, so we are going to take a bit of a deeper look then at our Cloud SIEM Advanced. So with that, let me just change my screen share so that we're all ready to go. And here we are. Okay. All right, so we did talk a little bit around Cloud SIEM Advanced earlier on, but just to kind of recap on some of the key things here then. So Cloud SIEM Advanced was born and built in the cloud. It is focused on your security events within your platform. It is able to correlate threats in real time across multiple data sources. So we kind of talked at a high level around how that could be, you know, cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, on-prem, or any combination of all of those. Okay. It's designed to reduce false positives and alerts using that insight clustering capability. It also matches all of the alerts as well to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So every signal that gets generated contains either a MITRE ATT&CK tactic, technique, or sub-technique. They're clustered together to give me that actionable insight, and then that gives me the ability then to use the enterprise heads-up display and workflow to be able to go through and very quickly kind of understand what I'm looking at and prioritize, etc. So with that, let me take you through a guided investigation to start with. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at an insight called persistence with initial access. So let me just change that share across so that we're on the right page. Okay, so this is our Cloud SIEM Enterprise, Cloud SIEM Advanced part of the product. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump in and have a look then at the insights that are being generated. So I click on the insight, and this takes me through to what we call our Kanban view board. So the actual insight that I'm looking for here then is called persistence with initial access. And I can click on this one at the top here that's been generated. Okay, just wait for that to jump up on my screen into my workbench view. And then essentially now as an analyst, I have the ability to very quickly scroll through this particular alert that's been triggered and kind of understand, what's happened. So in this view, I start off here with a threat intel against a file hash. So Cloud SIEM is seeing a file hash in one of my log files that's matching a threat intel source that I'm bringing into the platform. The next thing I have triggered here is a user's received an email with a phishing link, and this is coming from my Proofpoint email log source. Then as I scroll down through, I can see a checkpoint firewall alert telling me that a malicious file was downloaded. And then finally, I have a CrowdStrike detection summary event. So this is telling me that the malware has actually reached the endpoint and is trying to execute on the endpoint itself. So that really is kind of a quick insight into how quickly I'm able to go through and investigate a particular insight in the platform. Now, as part of my workflow, what I can do here is I could actually close this insight off myself, or alternatively, if I wanted to pass this to another team to go and investigate, then I can reassign it to any one of the actions listed here. And as a note, these can be customized as well. So I can add in anything where I can perform a HTTP post, then I can integrate with that as an action here as well. Okay. So essentially, what we actually saw here was, let me just jump back to my presentation. Here we go. So we essentially saw how our insight signal clustering happened. Our first signal here then was the threat intel match. And you can see that that had a severity score of 3 points. It was followed by the user receiving the phishing email, severity score 4 points. And then we had a checkpoint file that was detected. And that was, sorry, this is a bit out of sync. It should be 5 points. And then the total combined value there was 15. So anything over 12 points is what triggers an insight within the platform. Okay. I was able to quickly go in and create, an assumption or a conclusion on what had happened. The user had received a phishing email. The user had clicked on the email, checkpoint had seen that malicious file being downloaded from the same IP address. CrowdStrike had detected it being run on the endpoint, and I also had that threat intelligence match there as well. Okay, so the conclusion here really is that we, likely saw a successful phishing attack happen for this particular user. Then, as the last steps of that workflow, we would go through and take an action. So in this highlighted here, I could email it to a SOC team and then maybe close off the status of this particular insight. And then this kind of talks you through the typical workflow really of how we use Cloud SIEM Advanced powered by AWS. So the first thing I do is to come in and pick my latest insight that's been generated. I then go forward and examine each of the signals as part of that insight. I make my conclusion based on the signals, take my action, update the status of the insight, and then go back and make a repeat of the same thing. So go to my next insight that's being generated and work my way through until hopefully I've got those closed off. Okay, so in the next part now, I'm going to let you jump into our platform and actually go through an investigation yourselves. So using that same login information that we posted into the chat window, In the Cloud SIEM platform, you just click on the Cloud SIEM Enterprise link in the bottom left-hand corner, and then that will take you into the Cloud SIEM Cloud SIEM Advanced platform. So the insight I'd like you to have a look through is called Insight. It's command and control, and it should be Insight 14911. So let me just jump across here so that I can show you which one. So here we go. When you come into the Insight view, it's Insight 14911. Okay. If you can go through, have a look at this insight, look at the signals that are being generated, and then come up with a conclusion as to what you think has happened. And I will give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we will come back and have a look and discuss exactly what it is we've seen. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to have a look through that one. Okay, all right, so let's have a look to see how you did. So essentially, with this particular insight, there were 3 signals there that were part of the cluster. So the first one was an AWS API call from a terminated account, from a terminated AD account. The second signal then was a rare GIS guard duty alert. So you'll remember earlier on we were talking about the GIS, the global information, and how that's kind of a machine learning aspect of the platform. So that was a GIS guard duty alert for instance credential exfiltration. And then our third signal as part of that cluster was an AWS network firewall high severity alert. So hopefully you've come to the same conclusion that I did with this one. So it looks like a terminated employee still has access to AWS and may be attempting malicious activity. So using that workflow, once you've made that conclusion, what would your next step be? That would be to take an action. And here's a quick recap then of making that kind of conclusion based on the signals. Okay. So as an action here, you might hand it off to a tier 2 team for resolution. From my perspective, clearly there's a process issue we have here. We've terminated a user in Active Directory, but our processes around terminating users within AWS, clearly hasn't happened. So as part of this now, I would hand it off to another team, to have that user's access within AWS revoked. And secondly, I would pass this off and say, hey, we need to review our processes. We're not having a leaver terminated employee process operating as it should be here. Okay. So as a quick conclusion then of what Cloud SIEM Advanced powered by AWS can do for you. So the insights are able to correlate many threat signals into a few manageable, actionable items. Okay, we're simplifying alerting for you and reducing alert fatigue. The second part is making the investigation stage really easy. We can enrich users and devices to bring that additional context in for the investigation. And then finally, we'll be able to automate the actions using the rules and actions that are built into the platform. That helps me to improve my SOC efficiency and workflow. Okay, and with that here again is a quick recap of the 3 solutions that we offer. Okay, so audit and compliance, Cloud SIEM, and Cloud SIEM Advanced. And of course, the last two there are the two that we've looked at as part of this immersion. If you'd like to sign up for a free trial through Amazon and you have an Amazon AWS account, feel free to do so. Okay, I will copy that link into the chat window for you. There you go. Okay, and then as you go through there, when you get to the stage where you want to create your trial within Sumo Logic, you would just need your business email address. Choose the appropriate region there. That can be anything from Mumbai across to Sydney, Tokyo, or any of our US or European deployments. Finally, the access we've given you, like I mentioned, is valid until the end of the month. So, please feel free to go in and have a bit of a play. But additionally as well, we provide education, training and certification as part of the solution that's included in the product. If you want to learn more, you can actually go through and take the training. This is actually from within the Sumo platform itself, but I will give you that link there as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop that into the chat window. Finally is the link for our help documentation. It's pretty straightforward. It's just help.sumologic.com, and that gives you some pretty comprehensive documentation around both Cloud SIEM and Cloud SIEM Advanced, powered by AWS. And finally, if you're still curious, lots of finally this evening, if you're still curious, we do have a YouTube channel. So you can jump on there, do a quick search for Sumo Logic, and there's lots of videos there around how do I perform certain things. How do I run create a search? How do I do rule tuning? And maybe just an overview at a high level of the platform itself. Okay. And with that, thank you very much for your time today. I'm going to just copy this. I would just copy this link, but I can't. Hang on, bear with me. Who's embedded that in there? That was you, Suresh. There we go. No, come on, copy link. It's the end of a very long day for me. Okay, there you go. There's a link in the chat window. So if you wouldn't mind just jumping on there and completing the AWS survey, that would be very much appreciated. And yeah, and with that, thank you very much for your time. If there's any last minute questions that you want to pop into the Q&A, more than happy to answer those. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that if there are any questions. If there aren't any questions, then once again, thank you very much for your time. It's been much appreciated. We hope you have enjoyed our immersion session. And please feel free to visit any of those links that I've posted into that chat window there for you. And with that, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.